So let's go. Chapter 1, the writing system and its transliteration. Now, transliteration basic would mean to take writing from one form to another. Example, if something was on a wall and I took that and I put it on an actual papyrus, that would be part of transliteration. So it means taking something from one writing medium and putting it on another. It's not necessarily the same as a translation. But since we're here, let me go to the definition of transliteration and read it for you so you know exactly what it is, right? Right. I'm not going to show you because I don't want to take what's off there. Transliteration is the process of converting written text from one alphabet or writing system to another while aiming to preserve the pronunciation as closely as possible. Okay, so I was definitely wrong in what I'm saying, or perhaps let me just check another source to see if I was wrong, which I have clearly. All right. Transliteration is the process of transforming a word from the alphabet of one language to another. Transliteration helps people pronounce words and names in foreign languages. Okay, so my bad. I was wrong. So to make a long story short, it's a pronunciation guide for people who it's basically to help you pronounce. So they take it from one alphabet to another to help you pronounce the words. So let's go. The hieroglyphic writing system is based on pictorial representation of humans, animals, plants, and inanimate objects of the daily life in ancient Kemet, often accomplished in great detail. In contrast to an ordinary assumed ideographic writing system, however, it represents a combination of semantic and phonetic principles, i.e., hieroglyphic signs may serve to represent an entire word, but it may also represent a phonetic value. So we have semantic, phonetic, and a couple of things that I think I'm gonna go over and define later in a PowerPoint presentation. So we'll be able to get a bit more of a proper understanding of what we're reading. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna highlight these terms and I'm gonna come back later to be able to define them. So let me just highlight it right now. Then when I make a run back through it on the next thing, on my next live, I will definitely have a presentation to be able. I'll definitely have a presentation for you to be able to understand these terms a lot better. Right now, I'm just doing a quick run through. I don't know why it's giving me trouble to highlight. Right. So here we go. Highlight in green. Right. Hieroglyphic symbols signs may represent an entire word, but it may represent a phonetic value. No, just like Arabic today, the ancient Kemetic writing system denotes only the consonantal value of a word, while the vowels have to be filled in by the reader in order to read ancient Kemetic. The proper language is Medu. The proper name is Medu Necha, which means words of the Necha. Egyptologists therefore insert an artificial e between the consonants. Now, in some cases, this is not always true that it does not have vowels and it's only consonantal because in certain words you will see vowels in the actual medunecha. But as a general rule, you only see the consonantal value. The consonantal value. Although the semantic, although the semantic system would have allowed for a productive increase of signs. The hieroglyphic writing system was confined to about 1,000 pictographs during the Old Kingdom and about 750 signs during the time covered in this grammar book, which would be Middle Egyptian. Only in Ptolemaic and Roman times, an abundance of new signs was invented, resulting in an almost enigmatic script, the knowledge of which was limited to priestly circles. Now we're dealing with hieratic, along with the monumental variety of hieroglyphic signs, which were typically carved into stone or wood or painted on plastered walls as a replacement for reliefs. Kemetic scribes employed cursive and more abstract forms to write with a reed brush on papyrus. I'm going to highlight papyrus because I want to look into the Medu Neter word for papyrus. Leather, limestone fragments, or pottery. Almost every Medu Neter sign thus has a cursive and more abstract counterpart, known as the hieratic script. Nevertheless, the system differs from the hieroglyphic script in some important aspects. So here's figure 3, hieratic. Right, so they're saying this is the Medu, which we would read this way, and this is the hieratic. So I'm going to take a shot at reading this. Jedu, neat, M-E-R, ha, wua, so which would be some kind of both nurture or tep e. I probably read that wrong. Effie Neben. You know what? Let's not do that. But these are examples, right? So it shows you here. This is the Medu and this is the hieratic. If you look close, you can sort of see, make out some of the characters here. So this is like a short form of this. This is like cursive writing. Like what we would, like in English, we have cursive form. This would be the cursive of Medu Neter. So it's not a different language. It's a different form of it, which, as the experts say, is kind of a shorthand form. Hieratic was typically written in one direction only, from right, namely from right, namely from right to left. So you would read hieratic this way. Read English from left to right, you would read hieratic from right to left. So you would typically read it this way. In text from earlier times, both lines horizontal and columns vertical are found. From BC 1800. Only lines, only lines were commonly used as the papyrus unrolls, and they are arranged in columns. Figure 4, hieratic papyrus. The pictorial hieroglyphic signs can often not be clearly recognized in the abstract hieratic equivalent, as the shape of the latter, however, changes over time. It bears important information regarding the date of the handwriting. So this is a hieroglyph. And then it's showing you from the 5th dynasty, 6th dynasty, 10th and 11th dynasty, 11th and 12th. This is the 12th, 12th and 13th to 13th. So this will be all around the same, the Hyksos to early 18. Seti the first. This is Menapta and Seti the second. Right. Rams. Okay, so these are the pharaohs who would have. These are the Nesut who would have ruled, right? So this is Seti the first. This is Merenptah, Seti the second. Ramesses the fourth, Ramesses the ninth. Okay. So it says 22nd, 320 BC, AD 60. Common combinations of usually two Only really more than two signs can be written in a single stroke of the brush. Ligature. So this is Emmy. This is for ner or for hot. For I'm not sure what that says. For Jedit and for I'm not sure what that says. As a result, hieratic texts do not exactly correspond with contemporary hieroglyphic texts, either in the placing of signs or in the spelling of words. So this would be Saba. After BC 1800, commas were only used with a particular script. Right. This is Dua in the hieratic and the hieroglyph known as cursive hieroglyphs, which are most commonly found on Middle Kingdom coffin texts, and on New Kingdom papyri. So this is cursive hieroglyphics. So cursive hieroglyphics is the regular. This is Ra. This is Hatef. This is Waben. F. Emaket. Kenti, I guess. The shape traces back to early hieratic and remain close to the practical original hieratic script was used in all kinds of documents, distinguishing a book hand and an administrative hand during the third intermediate period. However, the latter gave into an extremely cursive or abbreviated variant that eventually developed into an early form of Demotic. By the end of the 26th dynasty, all administrative documents within the Ptolemaic era, even pieces of literature were written in Demotic. At the same time, hieratic became restricted to religious writings, which in this function remained in use until the third century BC. So give me 1 second. I've been on here for almost 16 minutes. So I think I might go to half an hour because I'm feeling chatty today. Principles of the hieroglyphic writing system. The ancient Kemetic writing system combines the principles of an ideographic system, which employs a sign to denote a semantic value that is closely related to the depicted object, with a phonetic system, which employs a sign merely to represent a phonetic value or letter. Many signs can easily be used in either way, namely as simograms, which I know they're going to explain later on, which can be further differentiated into logograms and determinatives, or phonograms. A logogram stands for an entire word that is closely related to the depicted object. The relation between this word and the hieroglyphic sign can be figurative, i.e., the pictographic sign represents the depicted object itself. So this is Ra, the sun, and this looks like a sun. This is Chu, or a mountain, symbolic, i.e., the pictorial sign represents a typical semantic aspect of the word in question. Head of an ox. See, there's an ox head here for ox. A red flamingo for gesture, red. Giving on. Right. The pictorial, oh, rebus base, i.e., the pictorial sign represents a specific word, the pronunciation of which is similar to the depicted object. A lizard, asa. which means many. See that it's applied to the English language of the sign and could thus stand for the nouns house and tag, respectively, figuratively, while the sign of a pointer finger could represent the word there. Figuratively, in addition, the sign could stand for sun, figuratively as well as sun. So that's a rebus. Phonograms, by convention, only the consonantal stem for the English words in the example above are considered a sign, right, and turned into the mere representation of a sequential consonants. So here's the example here. Has and ta. That can be freely combined to form the consonantal stem of other words, e.g., has, ge, or hostage, or together. Another Kemetic applied the same principle to a limited number of signs in order to denote a sequence of 1 to 3 consonants, right? From ra, mouth. From erit, eye. Onk from onk. They say it's a sandal strap. Ra, which is a goose. Erit, to do. Onk, to live. The sign in ra, goose, is used as a determinative. Ne and ha in on to live are used as phonetic complements, right? Which means this is on, but these are just complements for the N and H in the on. Phonograms thus allow for a larger number of hypothetical spellings in order to avoid confusion. However, Middle Egyptian largely employs more or less standardized spellings, and not all phonograms can be freely employed in the spelling of different words. Trilateral signs, in particular, are almost limited to words derived from the same semantic root. The phonogram onk, for instance, is usually restricted to words that are related to semantic aspect of life, such as ak, living person, sakir onk, captive, i.e., enemy who was brought back alive, onk te, grain, i.e., what keeps one alive, onk, to swear by one's life, etc. A group of signs can form a phonetic unit in its own right. So these three wavy lines say mu or nna, for instance, cannot be traced back to a single, can be traced back to a single sign, which I think is a shukran, unilateral signs and a pronunciation of ancient Egyptian, or the ancient Kemetic language, is what I'm going to say. Because we have to stop, in my view, we had to stop using Egyptian, because it's not that. There was no ancient Egypt at all. People come on a 22-minute mark. So let me finish this unilateral and pronunciation, and then we could done the line. Throughout the history of Egyptology, different systems were used for the transliteration of Medu-Neter script. The following table shows the system used in this book, along with all the transliteration and phonetic value of the unilateral symbols. So we got modern. This is what it looks like. The old, I don't know where that's coming from. Right. Ah, and this is a vulture. The transliteration is a I or J. New. This is the old. They make it a comparison to Hebrew. I don't know why. E or J. Right. For the old is a Y or double I. And the modern is a Y or double I. E Right, there's Y or double I. The old is the A or J. E as in English, yes, 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 yeah. So it's yeah, yeah, or E. So once again, we're going back. Right, right. So this is the modern transliteration. The old, and it's a ah, as in ka, ba. So this is the new. You got W, U, initial W as an English wet, non-initial U as an English hue. So we got wa and hue. Then we got B and B in bitter as in English bitter, sometimes softer as in Spanish Pablo, Pueblo. So this is a P as in English pet, sometimes probably pef as in German, I guess. So you got F English as in father, fa. So you got the M English mother, ma. So you have the owl and you have the symbol as well. So N as in English never, ne. So it's ne. This could be ne as well. With a single tap of the tongue as in Spanish. Pero sometimes so ra. Pero ra. That's what they want you to get with that one. So you got the H as in he, he, he. So this is another H with a dot on it. Mute and deep in the throat as in Arabic. Ha, So you got the O, then you got the X or the Ka. Ha. X and another one here, voiceless. This is a Z as a zoo. Z. This is an S here, transliteration here. Sa. I think at this point, I'm gonna cut off. Thank you guys for watching. Have a blessed and wonderful